Feeling stuck or unfulfilled? Searching for more meaning in your work and life? Wondering what's next? You're not alone, and you're in the right place. This is Focus on Why, the podcast that turns reflection into action. I'm Amy Rowlinson, and each week I dive deep with guests who've chosen to live and work with purpose. Together we explore what drives them, shapes their decisions, and gives their life meaning. Through real stories and honest conversations, you'll discover how to gain clarity, make confident choices, and create a life that truly matters. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. Before we start, have you read my book, Focus on Why, Create a Purposeful Way of Life? It's an uplifting guide to living with purpose, clarity, and meaning, and it's co-authored with my late grandfather. Available in paperback, ebook, and audiobook, all the links you need to purchase your copy today are in the show notes. Hello and welcome to episode 502. This is my 81st Reflections with Actions solo episode. And if you're new to the show, thank you for choosing to tune in. This is what you can expect. After every 5 interviews, I bring you a solo episode just like this one called Reflections with Actions. These episodes are where I pull on various strands from the 5 previous conversations I've had and dive a little deeper, exploring any meaningful significance from some poignant moments. I reflect on how they might apply to my life and then take subsequent action, posing questions to you as to their potential relevance. So let's crack on, kicking off with my first Reflections with Actions from episode 496, Better Than Yesterday with Dan McQueen. Thank you goes to Gerps Kyra, who was my guest from episode 448, Health, Wealth and Happiness, for introducing me to Dan. How do you turn life's toughest blows into your greatest source of motivation? After a life-altering brain hemorrhage, Dan McQueen shares his remarkable story of recovery and reinvention. He speaks candidly about relearning to walk, talk and smile, and the unwavering support of friends, family and self-care that help rebuild his life. Now, as a keynote speaker, Dan encourages others to reframe challenges, lead with compassion, and commit to meaningful personal development. Favouring meaningful impact versus traditional metrics, Dan's journey stands as a powerful reminder of perseverance and optimism. When it comes to navigating change and building resilience, Dan's focus remains clear: be better than yesterday. In this episode, Dan's narrative offers an unfiltered look at what it takes to rebuild life from the ground up. You'll hear actionable strategies for shifting perspective, embracing personal responsibility, and cultivating genuine resilience. If you're seeking practical tools to navigate setbacks, reframe obstacles, and discover meaning in life's challenges, this episode provides both inspiration and guidance. Dan's experience illustrates that resilience is as much about mindset as it is about action. Following his brain hemorrhage, he had to start from scratch. Walking, speaking, expressing emotion became daily exercises in patience and determination. The process was daunting, but it also offered profound insight into the importance of focus, deliberate practice, and support systems. Dan's recovery was anchored by friends and family, as well as by self-care routines that strengthened both body and mind. These foundations allowed him to step into a new life chapter, one dedicated to helping others navigate change, build resilience, and discover purpose. Reframing adversity emerges as a central theme of Dan's story. He vividly recounts the challenge of relearning to walk on the busy streets of Tooting Broadway. Initially, the chaos felt overwhelming, a place no one would willingly choose to regain mobility. But through reflection, Dan reframed the experience. If he could walk in this environment, he could walk anywhere. This shift transformed a moment of frustration into one of empowerment. His approach demonstrates that adversity is not merely an obstacle, it's an opportunity to grow, learn, and redefine what's possible. One of the most powerful lessons from Dan's journey is the importance of distinguishing what is within your control from what is not. He learned to compartmentalize difficulties, tackling them intentionally rather than reacting impulsively. This clarity allowed him to focus energy where it mattered most, on rebuilding his skills, nurturing relationships, and strengthening his emotional resilience. By separating the controllable from the uncontrollable, Dan provides a blueprint for anyone seeking to navigate uncertainty with composure and purpose. Another critical insight lies in redefining success. For Dan, true success is not measured by conventional metrics, but by meaningful impact. Whether it's encouraging someone to try again or inspiring another person to confront their own challenges, he calls this his stack of evidence, the accumulation of small, consistent actions that demonstrate the capacity to face difficulty and achieve progress. These tangible acts, rather than abstract achievements, became the markers of growth and purpose. Dan's approach combines reflection with deliberate action. He deliberately integrates routines like exercise, meditation, and healthy eating into his life, aligning daily choices with his larger purpose. The principle is simple but profound: better than yesterday. Each incremental improvement, whether swimming an extra lap or meditating a few more minutes, builds confidence, capability, and momentum. This philosophy illustrates that resilience is cultivated not in leaps but in steady, intentional steps. Reflection also highlights the value of support systems. Dan identifies his friends and family as anchors throughout his recovery. Their encouragement, combined with his commitment to self-care, created a foundation from which he could rebuild and thrive. His story invites a deeper question. How do you cultivate your own support networks, and how do you prioritize yourself when faced with adversity? Being the hero of your own story requires both external support and internal commitment. The interplay of reflection and action is a recurring theme in Dan's work. He emphasizes that while reflection helps interpret the meaning of experience, action propels transformation. The conscious response to challenge rather than the challenge itself defines your trajectory. Dan's mantra, "It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters," underscores this principle. By pausing, reflecting, and acting deliberately, you move from merely surviving to thriving, and in the process, you impact others meaningfully. Dan's story also offers concrete strategies for reframing everyday challenges. Whether navigating professional setbacks, health issues, or simply a hectic commute, he encourages pausing to ask, could this moment make me stronger, more resourceful, or more resilient? By consciously shifting perspective, obstacles become invitations for growth rather than insurmountable barriers. His experience demonstrates that transformation often begins with a small, deliberate change in thinking. Dan's story is testament to what can be achieved when reflection is paired with action. By evaluating what truly matters, leveraging support systems, reframing obstacles, and committing to incremental growth, he transforms adversity into meaningful accomplishment. His approach invites you to consider, are you taking deliberate steps to be better than yesterday? Are you measuring success by impact rather than metrics? Are you willing to step into your challenges as opportunities for learning and growth? If you're seeking to forge purpose out of adversity, the path begins with reflection. Identify what matters most to you and recognize the people and practices that sustain you. Then take deliberate, small actions towards your intentions. Reframe challenges as invitations for growth, build a consistent record of action, and commit to incremental improvement. Over time, your why will emerge, your purpose will crystallize through action, and you will become the hero of your own story. Next up is episode 497, You Really Matter, with Dawn Michelle Jackson. Firstly, I need to pass on a thank you to my guest from episode 474, Prosperity Pathways, Joel Salomon, for introducing us. Dawn Michelle Jackson explores how unprocessed pain can quietly impact your well-being and relationships, and how moving through it can open the door to deeper purpose and genuine connection. Drawing on more than 30 years as a nurse alongside her own powerful healing journey, Dawn shares why emotional well-being is just as essential as physical health. She reflects on the brave decision to step away from a secure career to honour her true calling, the courage required to be vulnerable, and the importance of practicing self-kindness. Through conversations about emotional honesty, self-care, and the strength found within supportive communities, Dawn reveals what it truly means to be seen, heard, and valued, emphasizing how she believes you matter. You really matter. One theme that consistently resonated is the idea of granting yourself permission to pause. Often, busyness and achievement are glorified, so taking time to step back and reconnect with yourself can feel really radical. Dawn reflects on her career in nursing, a role that, though deeply meaningful, eventually felt misaligned with her inner purpose, leaving a stable, externally validated position allowed her the space to focus on her own emotional well-being, spend time in nature, and rediscover her identity beyond the labels of nurse, wife, and mother. The pause Dawn speaks of is far more than self-care. It's a courageous act of recalibrating identity. It requires acknowledging what's been suppressed, confronting uncomfortable emotions, and cultivating self-kindness. Through this process, she learned that authentic growth begins with honesty about your own needs. Without this self-connection, relationships, career choices, and even physical health can be compromised. Her lived experience reinforces a powerful point. Before you can show up fully for others, you must first tend to yourself. Dawn's story challenges a notion that happiness is automatically achieved by external success. She reflects on years spent meeting expectations and fulfilling roles, believing that outward indicators, a stable job, a well-kept home, a family, would generate contentment. Yet she discovered that true joy and meaning came from looking inward, embracing vulnerability, and sometimes stepping into the unknown. The insight is both liberating and uncomfortable. When did you last check in with your truest self? What aspects of your life reflect your authentic priorities, and which are maintained only out of habit or obligation? For practical application, Dawn encourages intentionally creating space for reflection. Even small actions, taking an hour to walk without distractions, journaling thoughts, or sitting quietly with a cup of tea, can provide critical clarity. Asking yourself, who am I when I'm not performing for anyone else, is a foundational step. From this awareness, you can make one meaningful change, reorder priorities, establish a boundary, have a difficult conversation, or reclaim a fragment of time for yourself. These are the micro actions that, over time, build resilience, self-awareness, and purpose. A second theme running through Dawn's narrative is emotional honesty. Throughout her life, she learned that acknowledging and expressing genuine feelings is essential for authentic connection, both with oneself and with others. Reflecting on her upbringing in an alcoholic household and early adult relationships, she recognized the long-term impact of suppressed emotions. Pain that is not processed can manifest in both emotional and physical ways. Echoing what Ruth Fogg said in a previous episode, her insight was what the mind suppresses, the body expresses. By facing her own truths, Dawn reclaimed her sense of self and created the foundation for a purpose-driven life. This reflection naturally led to action. Following her divorce, Dawn faced a pivotal moment in counselling. When asked who she really was, her answer initially consisted of roles: nurse, mother, wife. It wasn't until she embarked on a healing journey that her intrinsic motivation emerged, guiding her toward helping others reconnect with themselves and fostering deep, authentic relationships. Her journey illustrates the principle of reflection with action. Pause to understand, then act intentionally to align life with your core values. Connection is another key element in Dawn's approach. She emphasizes building relationships that are authentic and nourishing, not merely transactional. Time in nature, bonding with animals, and spiritual practices all provide restorative energy, while deep friendships offer accountability, encouragement, and space to be fully seen. These intentional connections reinforce emotional well-being, provide perspective, and anchor her purpose. For you, as a listener, the message is clear. Cultivating meaningful relationships, both with yourself and others, is central to thriving. Identify who holds space for you and who challenges you to grow. Consider whether you're that supportive presence for others too. Dawn also stresses the courage required to align life with personal purpose. Leaving a long-standing profession was not just a career decision, it was a deliberate act of self-honouring. The choice to step away from external expectations and focus on her own healing exemplifies moving from reflection to courageous action. This is a crucial reminder. True transformation often requires letting go of security, predictability, or societal approval to prioritize your inner growth. Throughout the episode, Dawn encourages viewing struggles not as liabilities, but as sources of insight and empowerment. She reframes her challenges, emotional overwhelm, professional misalignment, personal loss, as catalysts for growth and learning. By embracing this perspective, you can see your own difficulties as invitations to pause, reflect, and take purposeful action. This mindset transforms adversity into a powerful teacher, revealing both resilience and potential. Emotional honesty changes everything. Recognizing and expressing true feelings allows for genuine connection and self-understanding. Self-care isn't selfish. Prioritizing your own well-being enables you to show up fully for others. Your struggles can become your message. Personal challenges, when processed consciously, can inform purpose and empower you to lead and support with empathy. Dawn's approach highlights the ripple effect of self-connection. By tending to her own emotional needs, she enhanced her ability to support, guide, and relate to others meaningfully. This underscores a principle central to Focus on Why. Reflection is vital, but it must be paired with action and intentional action to create sustained fulfillment. So I invite you to translate Dawn's insights into your own life. Begin by identifying areas where you can pause and reconnect with yourself. Notice what emotions, needs, or aspirations have been ignored or suppressed. Take one small step: journaling, walk in nature, or a conversation with a trusted friend, or establishing a boundary to align your life with your authentic self. Over time, these micro actions will accumulate, building resilience, clarity, and your renewed sense of purpose. Dawn's story emphasizes kindness toward oneself as well as toward others. Inner growth is both an outcome and an ongoing process. By reflecting, acting deliberately, and nurturing both self and relationships, you cultivate the conditions for meaningful, purpose-driven living. Next up is episode 498, Rhythm of Return with Mosongo Moukwa. Again, thank you to Joel Salomon from episode 474 for introducing us. Are you caught up in the relentless hustle of business and wondering what it's all for? Mosongo Moukwa shares his definitions of success, purpose, and legacy beyond financial goals. Drawing from his own journey from corporate heights to entrepreneurial setbacks, Mosongo shares how to reignite passion, find clarity, and return to what genuinely matters: service, community, and meaningful connection. Delving into overcoming fear, redefining values, and aligning everyday actions with the deeper why, Mosongo focuses on transformation, fulfillment, and the rhythm of return. In this episode of Focus on Why, Mosongo shares his remarkable journey from corporate leadership to entrepreneurial purpose, offering wisdom for anyone seeking to build a meaningful legacy through business. His story illustrates how aligning your actions with your why not only fuels personal fulfillment, but also creates lasting impact for others. 3 key takeaways from this conversation, especially relevant for entrepreneurs and business owners, are: 1. Purpose fuels resilience. Rediscovering your why is not simply about reigniting passion, it provides the grounding necessary to navigate setbacks, uncertainty, and moments when external success feels hollow. 2. Personal growth is ongoing. Fulfillment is not a finish line. Mosongo emphasizes continual reflection, self-alignment, and evolution. Your values and goals must be revisited regularly as both your business and personal life evolve. 3. Legacy is built through service. True legacy extends beyond financial or material achievement. It's measured by relationships that you create, the lives that you touch, and the willingness to learn and grow alongside others. If you're seeking to rediscover purpose in business or navigate entrepreneurial challenges with clarity, this episode is a must listen. Mosongo even offers complimentary strategy sessions to small business owners who mention Focus on Why, demonstrating his commitment to supporting others in action as well as insight. Mosongo's journey begins in the corporate world, where he held senior leadership roles but found himself increasingly constrained by what he calls the golden shackles of comfort. Despite external markers of success, he felt unfulfilled, a sensation familiar to many, climbing a ladder that promises achievement but leaves the soul untethered. His transition to entrepreneurship was driven by a deep desire for meaning rather than mere material gain. This raises a question for you. Is your own progress aligned with the life you truly want, or are you climbing a ladder that feels increasingly flimsy? Reflection alone is not enough. It must be paired with deliberate action to redirect your course. A vivid example of reflection with action comes from Mosongo's move to North America. Despite facing bureaucratic obstacles, rejection, and uncertainty, he persisted. Told that his application to move to Canada wasn't how the procedure goes, he returned, reapplied, and ultimately succeeded. His story shows that pursuing purpose often requires persistence, adaptability, and courageous action. even in the face of official or societal barriers. You're encouraged to consider what the dreams that you may have been honouring internally but have yet to pursue externally. What steps are needed to bring them to life? A deeply personal motivation also illustrates how individual reflection can expand into broader impact. Mosongo shares his desire to build a home for his mother, a goal born of love and family duty that became a gateway to serving others. By acting on this initial desire, he discovered how personal purpose can ripple outward, inspiring and enabling others to step into their own potential. This demonstrates how one focused, intentional action can evolve into lasting impact and influence. Adversity, Mosongo emphasizes, is inevitable in business and life, yet it can be navigated with resilience when grounded in purpose. He recounts the loneliness and financial strain of early entrepreneurial ventures, including the silence of family dinners after losing his first business. Rather than succumbing to despair or normalizing failure, he returned to his why, aligning strategy with values and re-engaging with his purpose. Again, this illustrates the power of anchoring in purpose during these challenging times. Setbacks are reframed as opportunities to adjust, grow, and recommit. A central theme of this episode is Mosongo's rhythm of reflection with action. He constantly asks himself why, and then why, and why again, ensuring that his choices remain in alignment with evolving values. Purpose, he insists, is not static. It requires regular recalibration. If you're an entrepreneur or leader, this is a crucial lesson. Revisiting and re-anchoring your why ensures that your work remains grounded, impactful, and aligned with an authentic vision. Mosongo also offers memorable metaphors to illustrate this principle. The flimsy ladder of achievement captures the risk of climbing without grounding, pursuing accolades, promotions, or milestones that provide the appearance of progress but leave you vulnerable to uncertainty. In contrast, the image of a rooted tree embodies growth with stability. Deep roots nourish resilience, branches extend outward to create impact, and the tree provides shelter, shade, and value to others. These metaphors prompt you to question whether your ambitions are genuinely meaningful and whether they are anchored in values that can weather life's storms. The reframing of success is another core lesson. Many can chase these external indicators, financial gain, recognition, titles. I've mentioned this many times, while losing sight of the internal compass that guides sustainable fulfillment. Mosongo reminds you that profit and recognition may keep the doors open, but meaning and purpose sustain the soul. When faced with setbacks or uncertainty, reconnecting with your why provides clarity, motivation, and direction. For practical application, Mosongo encourages a simple but powerful exercise. Map a tree of purpose. Begin with your deepest roots, those values that anchor you. Then branch out with ways you currently express those values, and add one new branch representing an action that strengthens your grounding while creating benefit for others. This practice encourages reflection paired with intentional action, helping you both evaluate your alignment and take steps towards tangible impact. Reflection and action, as Mosongo demonstrates, are inseparable. Reflection helps you assess whether your efforts are aligned with your values and your long-term goals. Action allows insights to be realized in concrete, meaningful ways. Together, they form the foundation of entrepreneurial resilience, personal growth, and the creation of a legacy that goes beyond superficial success. So pause and reflect. What is your tree of purpose? Which values anchor you? How are your current actions aligned with those values? What new step can you take this week to strengthen your grounding and expand your branches, offering service, connection, or guidance to others? By returning to your why, aligning your decisions with your core values, and translating reflection into tangible steps, you not only thrive personally, but you leave a legacy that extends well beyond yourself. This is how you create your rhythm of return. How does it look right now? Next, let's turn to the next episode, 499, Reclaiming Your Identity, with Robert Paris. Now, Robert was introduced to me by Sarah Hubbard, my guest from episode 493, Unlimited Compassion, who in turn was a guest recommended by Joel Salomon, episode 474, who in turn was introduced to me by Shelley Starks, episode 454, Breathing Life into Conversations. She was introduced to me by Freeman Beals, my guest at 361, Practical Positivity, and He was introduced to me by Jill Tiny, my guest of 347 Heartfelt Connection. Now, that's 6 levels of connection. How amazing is that? And that's really great proof that the ripple effect of a focus on why travels across the world over and over. So, thank you to all of my guests and their recommendations. Are you living authentically or hiding behind a mask? Master neuroplastician Robert Paris shares his powerful journey from deep personal pain to true liberation. By rewiring his own brain, Robert uncovered self-love, meaningful connection, and a renewed sense of purpose. And now he's dedicated to helping others do the same. Through compelling storytelling, reflections on childhood experiences, and practical coaching insights, Robert explores the power of understanding your why, overcoming limiting beliefs, and nurturing genuine relationships at home and at work. His work is changing the world, one brain at a time. Rediscover love, connection, and purpose as you begin your own journey home, reclaiming your identity. Now, this episode is essential if you're ready to break free from any self-imposed limitations to connect with your authentic self. Robert shares research-backed neuroplasticity techniques for rewiring the brain, transforming painful narratives, and fostering deeper connection with both self and others. By examining your personal story, facing fears, and embracing vulnerability, you can fundamentally change your relationships, leadership, and personal fulfillment. And at the heart of the conversation is the idea that transformation begins within. Robert traces his journey from personal pain to liberation, showing how early life subconscious messages, such as "I'm not good enough" or "I'm not worthy of love," can unconsciously shape adult behavior. These scripts often drive decisions, habits, and relationships unless consciously addressed. Bringing awareness to these narratives and intentionally rewiring them opens the door to authentic living. Authenticity is central to Robert's approach. Real connection, whether in families, teams, or communities, depends on dropping the masks that you habitually wear. Armor built for protection can distance you from your true self and prevent others from understanding you. Sharing your story creates trust, empathy, and relational depth. Vulnerability is a pathway to resilience and meaningful relationships. By choosing compassion over fear, you strengthen your connections and personal satisfaction. Can you see how many similarities there are between all these episodes? It's astounding. Purpose brings these similarities together. Robert introduces his Renew methodology. It's a practical framework which combines neuroplasticity, emotional storytelling, and deliberate transformation. It helps identify deeply buried narratives and create new neural pathways that reinforce positive, empowering beliefs. Reflection alone is insufficient. Change requires consistent, intentional action. Pairing insight with practice produces measurable shifts in mindset, emotion, and behavior. This episode also explores the synthetic self, the version of yourself shaped by external expectations rather than chosen values. Many of us operate on this autopilot, carrying forward scripts from childhood or adolescence without questioning them. Robert prompts you to ask, where are you living by old narratives? What masks do you still wear? Where are fear or habit holding you back? These questions guide the first step towards meaningful transformation, courageous self-reflection. Unmasking is neither quick nor easy. The brain is wired to avoid pain, often resisting uncomfortable truths, yet leaning into these experiences allows growth and liberation. Examining formative experiences and revisiting past challenges enables you to reprogram unhelpful narratives. Approaching this process with self-compassion transforms shame or limitation into understanding and empowerment. Robert extends his insights beyond the individual. Authenticity enhances connection with others. Sharing your story in group settings through storytelling creates profound relational bonding. By modeling vulnerability, Robert demonstrates how it encourages reciprocal openness and a culture of psychological safety. Practical exercises in this episode include identifying subconscious messages and deliberately reframing them through repetition, visualization, or journaling. Coupling reflection with action allows you to internalize empowering beliefs and replace self-limiting scripts. This aligns with the core principle of the podcast. Meaningful change requires both insight and deliberate behavior. Compassion is a recurring theme. Self-compassion, acknowledging your experiences without judgment, is foundational to authentic living. Extending compassion to others strengthens relationships and creates an openness. Choosing love and understanding over fear or avoidance builds resilience, connection, and fulfillment. To put these ideas into practice, ask yourself, where am I hiding behind a mask or armor? Which past experiences influence my present choices in ways that limit growth or authenticity? How might vulnerability in safe contexts, sharing with a trusted friend, family member, or colleague, enhance connection and trust? Acting on these reflections begins the integration of insight with meaningful behavior. Robert illustrates these principles through his own life, sharing examples of reconciling with family dynamics and childhood experiences. By facing past pain with compassion, he demonstrates that liberation is possible and transformative. You're encouraged to mirror his approach. Confront discomfort directly, examine its influence on your behavior, and intentionally adopt new, empowering patterns. The mask can come off, the armor can be set aside, and the narratives that once constrained you can be rewritten. By investing in reflection, self-compassion, and purposeful action, you step into a life defined not by fear, obligation, or inherited scripts, but by your authentic self, values, and why. This is your opportunity to focus on unmasking, and in doing so, you find yourself reclaiming your identity. Now, my next episode that I'm going to be reflecting on is maybe it's a bit strange because, in fact, it's probably a bit meta. I'd be reflecting on my own reflections. So I'm going to be fairly brief for this one. On the 11th of February, 2026, I celebrated episode 500 of Focus on Why with the why that endures. This is where I reflected on nearly 6 years of the podcast and over 500 conversations. This milestone reflected and revealed 7 truths about purpose, fulfillment, and meaningful success. This was both a celebration and an invitation to pause, reflect, and consider what truly matters to you. And across all the episodes, a consistent lesson has emerged. Transformation requires marrying reflection with action. Purpose isn't discovered through thought alone, it's revealed through action. Waiting for perfect clarity often leads to paralysis. Purpose emerges as you engage with the world, respond to circumstances, and reflect on your responses. Ask yourself, where might you act now, however modestly, to clarify what matters most? In this episode, I shared a 4-step framework for reflection with action, and I will repeat it here. Step 1, reflect. Consider your experiences, challenges, and lessons that guide your choices. Step 2, notice. Identify what energizes you, activities that bring flow or joy. Step 3, question. Examine where you're on autopilot or living by others' definitions of success. Step 4, act. Take one small step this week aligned with your why. Incremental action builds lasting change. Courage often precedes confidence. Each day offers an opportunity to practice purpose through intentional choices, big or small. Purpose grows through consistent reflection and action, deepening your why as your guiding compass. Meaningful success comes not from accolades or dramatic achievements, but from the everyday experiences that shape and qualify you. Setbacks, pivots, and challenges often form the roots of your unique contributions. Recognizing the wisdom in your lived experience rather than chasing external validation builds confidence, clarity, and purpose. Where have you dismissed a difficult experience that now qualifies you to support or inspire others? Take one small step this week. Share a personal story, one that felt more like a lesson than a success, with a friend, colleague, or even in your own journal. And notice just how articulating your experience impacts you and potentially others. So no, purpose doesn't have to be a grand declaration or a destination. In fact, it just lives in everyday choices, what you prioritize, what you protect with a no, and how you treat people. Fulfillment grows through consistent alignment with values rather than chasing more. Even small intentional choices, pausing, declining what drains you, saying yes to what matters, accumulate into a meaningful, purpose-driven life. You don't need perfect clarity or unshakable confidence to begin. Practice is key. By repeating small, aligned actions, you shape the person you become and the purposeful life you create. Living with purpose is about engaging daily with what matters, letting your values guide your next step, and building fulfillment from alignment rather than achievement. Which small daily choice could you make this week that quietly honours your why? Just start there. No fanfare is required. My final reflection with action today turns to episode 501, Presence, Purpose and Heart with Rachel Edmondson-Clarke. Rachel shares how a corporate breakdown becomes the breakthrough that aligned her life and leadership with her soul's contract. She reflects on how she chose presence over performance, leading with both head and heart and reporting for duty to a higher purpose. Through her honest stories of parenting, panic attack, and purposeful work with senior leaders, she highlights how self-care, vulnerability, and connection underpin meaningful leadership. To live intentionally, navigate change, and create impact without sacrificing your well-being, this episode invites you to embrace presence, purpose, and heart. Sharing her journey of this purposeful leadership, presence, and self-awareness, Rachel reflects on what it truly means to lead with heart and courage, to stay aligned with your values, and to navigate life's challenges with authenticity. This episode is essential if you're seeking deeper meaning in your personal or professional life. At the heart of the conversation is the idea of reporting for duty to your soul's contract. This isn't a checklist of accomplishments or tasks to tick off. It's your living, evolving commitment to show up fully every day in alignment with what matters most to you. It's about how you choose to act, respond, and be present, even when life feels busy, unpredictable, or overwhelming. Each choice you make is an opportunity to honour your values, purpose, and why. Rachel shares how her understanding of leadership and purpose transformed after a dramatic moment in her career. For years, she pursued status, external validation, and professional success, climbing the corporate ladder without questioning whether these goals reflected her authentic desires. The culmination of this approach was a severe physical and emotional breakdown, a panic attack while alone in her glass-walled office. That moment forced her to pause, reflect, and ask herself what truly mattered. You might recognise times in your own life when you've been swept along by expectation or habit. The question is, do you stop to notice, reflect, and choose differently? One of the central lessons Rachel shares is the importance of presence over perfection. Leadership and living meaningfully is not about being flawless. It's about showing up authentically, keeping your heart open, and acting with intention. Every time you notice your thoughts and emotions and choose to respond consciously rather than react automatically, you strengthen your capacity to lead, connect, and live purposefully. She also emphasizes the power of connection. The quality of your relationships, whether with colleagues, family, friends, or even yourself, is central to fulfillment. When you act out of habit, expectation, or pressure, you risk missing the opportunity to connect deeply. By aligning your choices with your values and showing up consistently, you cultivate trust and authenticity. Every interaction becomes a chance to live your soul's contract and create meaningful impact. Your own well-being is equally important. Rachel, just like others on this episode, stresses that self-care is foundational. Sleep, nutrition, movement, time in nature, and moments with loved ones are not optional. They enable you to act in alignment with your purpose. Attending to your needs with kindness allows reflection to translate into action, rather than leaving you depleted, frustrated, or disconnected. Remember, you don't need perfect circumstances to show up intentionally. Even small acts of self-care reinforce your capacity to act with presence and purpose. This is the recurring theme of remembering. This isn't just about recalling the past. It's about connecting with who you want to be right now. In every moment, you have the opportunity to pause, catch yourself, and ask, how do I want to show up here? Will you act from frustration, habit, or expectation, or will you respond with clarity, presence, and alignment with your values? Remembering becomes a daily practice, a way to ensure that each interaction, decision, or reaction is guided by your soul's contract. Rachel gives vivid examples from her own life. When her son needed comfort late at night, despite being exhausted, she paused and asked herself what kind of parent and role model she wanted to be in that moment. She chose love, patience, and connection rather than frustration or rushing. These small, deliberate acts reinforce the idea that leadership and purposeful living are not about grand gestures. They are about consistent, mindful choices that embody your why. This is the power of reflection combined with action. Reflection alone can leave you stuck in analysis. Action alone can leave you misaligned or burnt out. The real transformation comes when you combine the both. For example, when Rachel noticed she'd been prioritizing work and status over fulfillment, she didn't just acknowledge it, she acted, shifting her focus towards coaching, mentoring, and supporting others in ways that resonated with her purpose. You're invited to do the same. Where are you reacting automatically or following old patterns that no longer serve you? Which moments offer you the chance to pause and choose differently? What step, small, deliberate one, could you take today that reflects your purpose and your soul's contract? Even minor choices, responding with kindness, taking a moment for self-care, or engaging fully in a conversation, compound into meaningful growth over time. Pause and ask, what do I truly want to remember in this moment? How do I want to show up? As you listen to this episode, notice where remembering could shift the way you show up. Your soul's contract isn't a distant goal. It's something you live into every day, in big moments and small. So each time you pause, reflect, and act intentionally, you reinforce your alignment, your presence, and your impact. Consider a recent situation where you reacted automatically or followed an expectation rather than a conscious choice. How might remembering your purpose have changed the outcome? This week, take one intentional action that reflects your values, however small, and observe how it influences your sense of authenticity, connection, and fulfillment. What meaning do you want to remember, and how will you choose to show up the next time life whispers for your attention? When you focus on remembering, you do so with a focus on presence, purpose, and heart. That's a wrap for today, but the journey doesn't end here. Share your takeaways, leave a review, or post your insights. Your voice helps others discover the value of these stories. Want to dive deeper into purpose? Check the show notes for ways to work with me. Get a copy of my book or to sign up for Friday Focus, my weekly newsletter packed with clarity and inspiration. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.